Let's be real. We're all kind of drowning in data, right? But how much of it actually helps us make smarter decisions? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down that exact process, how to turn all that raw information into some real-world results.
So, I want you to think about this for a second. Do you have data or do you have answers? See, we all collect stats and numbers. That's the easy part. But the real power, it comes from bridging that gap, turning this huge sea of information into a clear path forward. Okay, so let's actually map out that journey. How do we get from, say, a super messy spreadsheet to a game-changing decision? It all starts with understanding one basic transformation. Think about it like this. Raw data by itself is just numbers and text. A spreadsheet full of numbers? That's just a pile of puzzle pieces. On their own, they're kind of meaningless, right? They've got potential, for sure, but they don't actually form a picture until you sort them, connect them, and figure out what they mean. And this whole process of putting the puzzle together, well, that's what we call data analysis. It all starts with collecting and, this is absolutely crucial, cleaning the data to make sure it's accurate. From there, you can start to interpret it to find those hidden insights that are going to lead to much, much better decisions. Yeah, there's this quote that just nails it. Data analysis turns information into understanding and understanding into action. That flow is everything. You get the info, you figure out what it means, and then, and this is the most critical part, you have to do something with it. That last step, the action, that's the whole point. It's why we even bother analyzing data in the first place, to get real results.
Okay, but how do you do this consistently? Well, the best analysts, they basically act like detectives. They don't just stare at the evidence, They follow a very specific framework of questions to crack the case.
You see, pretty much every data investigation follows this logical path. It's built around 4 core questions that get more sophisticated and way more valuable as you go. It starts with the absolute basics. What happened? Then it digs deeper into the cause. Okay, why did it happen? From there, we start looking to the future. What's going to happen next? And finally, the million-dollar question. So what should we do about it? Let's break down each one of these. First up, you've just got to establish the facts. This is what we call descriptive analysis. The best way to think of it is like a headline. Our views went up 20% last month. Simple. We're not explaining why just yet. We're just laying out what happened. This is the absolute foundation.
Okay, so once you know what happened, the next logical question is, well, why? This is diagnostic analysis. This is where you really start digging for the root cause. Was it that new thumbnail we tried? Was it a trending topic? You're hunting for the reason behind the result.
All right, now this is where things start to get really interesting. Once you understand the past, you can actually start predicting the future. This is predictive analysis, and it's all about using historical data to forecast what's likely to happen. I mean, if that new thumbnail style worked 3 times in a row, it's a pretty safe bet it'll work a 4th time, right? It's all about making a smart, educated guess. And that brings us to the most valuable question of all. So what? What should we actually do with this information? This is prescriptive analysis. This is where you combine all the previous insights, the whole shebang, into a direct, actionable strategy. So, for example, our data shows shorts perform best on weekends, so from now on we're going to schedule all shorts for Saturdays and Sundays. See? It's not just an insight anymore, it's a decision. This is definitely the hardest level to get to, but it's where data delivers the most punch, the most value.
Okay, so we have our 4 detective questions. That's our framework. But how do we actually find the answers to those questions? Well, that's where the Analyst Toolkit comes in, and it's filled with all sorts of specific techniques and tools.
Pretty much every analysis follows this basic 3-step process. Step 1, you've got to clean the data. This is non-negotiable because bad data always leads to bad conclusions. You know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. Next, you explore it. This is often just creating some simple charts to see if any patterns jump out at you. And finally, you get into the formal analysis, using stats and models to prove that those patterns you saw are real and not just some random coincidence.
And to get those answers, analysts have a bunch of key techniques up their sleeves. They might use something like descriptive statistics just to get a quick summary, like finding the average watch time on a video. Or they'll use correlation to see if 2 things are connected. Like, for example, do longer videos actually get more subscribers? And for all that text data, like comments and reviews, they can use text analysis to scan thousands of them at once and find out what people are really talking about. And here's the cool part. You do not need to be a coding genius to get started. Seriously, A lot of analyses begin in a simple spreadsheet, like Excel or Google Sheets. Now, sure, as the questions get more complex, you might move on to a programming language like Python for the heavy lifting, or a tool like Tableau to create these beautiful interactive dashboards, or even SQL to talk directly to massive databases. But here's the key thing to remember. The tool always serves the question, not the other way around.
Okay, so all this theory is great, right? But how does this actually apply to you? Let's bring this home and connect these ideas directly to something like your YouTube channel or your brand.
So the big takeaway here is that these principles are totally universal. For a YouTube channel, you're tracking things like views and click-through rate. For a brand, you're checking customer segments. Forecasting which video topic is going to be a hit, that uses the exact same logic as forecasting a hit product. A/B testing a thumbnail, it's the same skill as A/B testing a logo, you see? It's all just data analysis at its core.
You know, when you really get down to it, the journey from data to decisions, it doesn't start with some super complex piece of software. It doesn't even start with statistics, really. It starts with something much more fundamental, much more human. Simple curiosity. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the one thing about your work right now that data could help you answer today? Just one question. Think about your project, your channel, your brand, and find that one question. Start there, because who knows? The answer just might be your next big breakthrough.